didn't want anyone to see the injustice of their actions because they were cowards under demonic influence. So don't worry about yourself being persecuted. Jesus knows the minds and he knows the heart of men and women. And those who try to persecute you, they try to do it in under darkness. They try to do it where everybody in the multitude of the people won't be able to see that. Even though they had opportunity, if they had something to say to you, then they should come and say it to you in the cover of light. Amen. So that was talking about there were chief priests and captains of the temple and the elders. Judas Iscariot had given the multitude a sign saying that the one he kissed in greeting would be Jesus. They were to grab him and hold him fast. This was the plan. So people plan and they plot. This was the plan. And it was put in motion. It might be noted here that affectionate gestures such as this between men were common to the culture and customs of that time. In fact, men in the Middle East still have a habit of greeting one another with a kiss and even walking together hand in hand without any sexual overtones. So that was the plan. This is the moment that Jesus was getting ready to be betrayed. And the disciples was there. Judas Iscariot was there. And the soldiers and the police and the chief priests, they were starting to come as well. And that was the plan. Now, there's our next topic. It's coming out of Matthew chapter 26. And this is 49 and 50. And we're going to conclude with these verses here. Let us read Matthew chapter 26. And let us read verses 49 and 50. Matthew 26 and 49, it reads, "And forthwith he came to Jesus and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him. And Jesus said unto him, Friend, wherefore art thou come? Then came they and laid hands on Jesus, and they took him." Now, isn't that something? That even though that Judas Iscariot, at the exact moment that he was portraying Jesus, Jesus still called him friend. Because Jesus already knew what was in the heart of him. And Jesus knew that he was one of his disciples. Jesus knew that Judas Iscariot knew who he was. Even the chief priests and the people that were coming to arrest him, they knew who he was. So perfidy, P-E-R-F-I-D-Y, perfidy, and I have a definition of that. And the definition of perfidy is deceitfulness, untrustworthiness, and disloyalty. So our first topic that we talked about was the plan for him to be betrayed. And then we're talking about the disloyalty. How hard could it have been for someone that was Jesus' disciple, that followed him and knew who he was, did something that was deceitful toward him? And that it was untrustworthiness toward him and being disloyal to him. Those things happen to us all the time. And we need to realize the fact that what's happening to you, you can't put it in the history books as the first time ever happening. When somebody that you think is close to you, a real dear and close friend that betrays you in the open, and then comes and hugs you and gives you a hug, and then go and do something that's disloyal to you. This is what happened with Jesus. And that's what perfidy means, P-E-R-F-I-D-Y. So we can find more details on this incident in John 18, verses 2 through 13. You write that down in your notes and go back and read that. And we can find more about that. Jesus, therefore, knowing all things that should come upon him, went forth and said unto them, Whom seek ye? They answered him, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus said unto them, I am he. As soon then as he had said unto them, I am he, they went backward and fell to the ground. If you stand face to face and toe to toe with those that are disworthiness to you, untrustworthiness and deceitful towards you, and you let them know that you know about it, that will have them fall back away from you. As soon as he said unto them, I am he, they went backward and they fell on the ground. Jesus again asked them for whom they sought. They told him it was Jesus of Nazareth. And he repeated his statement that he was that person. Then he requested that his disciples be allowed to go free. Now these were the disciples that he told to sit, watch, and pray. And he still asked that they be able to go free. He asked this that none of the men whom God had given him would be lost. Let's go to John chapter 18, and I want to read verses 7 through 9. And all the time that Jesus is getting ready to be captured, Jesus is being portrayed, Jesus is getting ready to be crucified, and he's getting ready to get the wrath of God poured on him, because we talked about that cup. Let's go to St. John. Let's go to chapter 18, verses 18. Let's look at verses 7, 8, and 9. John chapter 18, verse 7 reads, Then he asked them again, Who is it that you're seeking? Jesus of Nazareth, they said. I told you I am he. Jesus replied, So if you're looking for me, let these men go. Verse 9 says, This was to fulfill the words he had said. I have not lost one of those you have given me. And that's what he had told his Father in heaven, that I have not lost any of them that you have given to me. When things are happening around you, God has a way of protecting you, and he will let you go off to the side. Things happen in your life sometime where you're trying to get somewhere very fast and something slows you down. If it's a traffic accident, or if there's some traffic, or there's something going on with your car and you're not able to make it at the time that you want to make it there, sometimes that's Jesus working on your behalf. He's slowing you down to prevent you from getting into something that he doesn't want you to be involved in. And Jesus fulfilled that, because he's not going to let any of the men that God has given to him, he's not going to let them fall, and he's not going to let them be harmed. So we have to remember that. That was very important. So that he asked this so that none of them whom God had given him would be lost. In spite of the fact that Jesus had identified himself twice to the arresting mob, Judas came up to him to hail or greet him as master and to kiss him. Jesus said, Judas, betrayed thou the Son of Man with a kiss. Then Jesus called him his friend and asked him why he had come. He knew the answer, but he wanted Judas to put in his own words. No answer by Judas is recorded. Jesus asked Judas Iscariot, why did you come? But there's nowhere in the Bible where it's recorded that Judas stood up and Judas stood up and said what he was going to do. And those who try to portray you, sometimes they may come to you. And if they got a bold face to be able to tell you, I'm coming because I'm going to betray you. Because I don't like you, I don't care for you, and I'm betraying you because it's for some money. Judas Iscariot betrayed him for 30 pieces of silver. But he wasn't man enough to say it to Jesus' face. Sometimes people are not going to come to your face and say things as they do things behind your back. So it says right there, no answer by Judas is recorded in the Bible. When Jesus asked him the question, but he wanted Judas to put it in his own words. Some people that will betray you will not put it in their own words. Betrayals by enemies or criminals, con artists, are despicable, but they are to be expected. Betrayal or deceit practiced by a close friend, however, is much worse. Somebody who betrays you that you think is closest to you is a very bad betrayal. This was particularly true in the case of Judas' betrayal of Jesus, because he was the divine Son of God. Ever since this horrendous incident took place, Judas has become a common byword for anyone who deceives or betrays someone else, especially someone close to him. And then, you know what? It still happens today. If somebody walks up to somebody and say, you my Judas, we're still talking about it 2,000 years later. That's how bad this betrayal was. That's how deceitful this betrayal was. That's how disloyal Judas was. Because those people that's betraying you today, those are your Judas. The case of Judas Iscariot underscores the fact that appearances often shield inner feelings. I'm going to read that again. The case of Judas Iscariot underscores the fact that appearances often shield inner feelings. Just because somebody's wearing a suit, just because somebody is dressed nice, just because somebody speaks well, it does not mean that they're incapable of betrayal or incapable of disloyalty. Just because somebody's in your face, they smiling and they talking and they patting you on the back. Because remember what Judas Iscariot did when he was portraying Jesus Christ. Judas Iscariot walked up to him and he called him master. And then he kissed him. And then a lot of people that come up to you and they hug you. They pat you on your back. They try to lift you up. They smile in your face. And you have to be careful of that. You have to stay awake. And you have to keep watch. Despite the fact that Judas Iscariot was numbered among the 12 disciples, his subsequent actions provided he was not truly one of them.